these are the GPIO headers here on the ESP32 microcontroller. The GPIO headers on the LD2450, I believe it's called, HLK LD2450. Basically, the problem is this jumper wire, that's connected to the receiving serial GPIO pin for this ESP32 dev kit is too long to connect to the transmitting serial pin for the LD2450. It looks like it connects, but it doesn't. You can see this pin's too short. So for the connection here with this pin, I was doing a bunch of soldering. And I was initially planning on just extending these pins, but I had the idea of taking these jumper wires. What I've been doing is, that should be good. Basically what I've been doing is just stripping the this connector here. So, grab one of these. So as you can see, how it connects is the GPIO pin goes into the top, and this little thing here, if you press it down, then you can actually remove the GPIO pin. But what's fortunate about that design for me is if I literally just, bear with me, remove that little piece, it comes sliding off. And this is much easier to connect to shorter pins. So what I've got here is just a jumper wire with both ends stripped. It's holding on pretty well. I don't really foresee this going through much strain, so it doesn't really need to grip it that much. It honestly just needs to conduct. Oh, excuse me. And at that, since it's such low voltage, it's only 5 volts, the connection doesn't even need to be that good. It's just serial transmission between the HLK2450, which is radar input, to the ESP32 microcontroller. And so that, like, it doesn't really need to be an insanely powerful connection. So what I've got here is a multimeter, and what it has on it is a continuity setting or continuity test. And what that does is it just tests to see if there's a conductive pathway between the two probes. Oops. So we've got the two probes that are connected to the multimeter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the continuity test. I'm going to put it on both ends. Oops. Ha, I guess that's probably not the greatest. What I could also do is literally just grab these and physically clamp it. Literally just molding this thing around the pin. A bit barbaric, but it's okay. Alright, so we're going to do the continuity test. So if it beeps, that means there's a conductive pathway between these two probes. Holy shit, we have conduction. Wow, that makes me so happy. And I can further verify there's no error by putting it on this further pin here. And then, actually, you guys can't even see. We're going to put one probe. Oh shit, here, how am I going to do this? So one probe is here, the other one, okay. One probe's here, the other one's here. See, no beep. If I put it here, nope. So we have conduction between these two. So I think I'm going to go with that result. Put this multimeter away. I'm going to go ahead and use this method to connect these. And we only need to use this method of clamping it just on this side. For the C32, the pins are so much longer, so I'm not going to have to jerry rig it that much. Maybe that's a word. It's pretty good. I don't know, I'm not going to have to solder it to this, because what I was worried about is if I try to solder an extension to here, say I try to extend this, I could accidentally get solder down here, and it might get solder in between the two pins. I would totally just short it out. That would be a real bummer. Anyways, it's a good result. The problem that's happening now is that these two connectors here, the metal on each jumper wire, they're just way too close to each other, so they're touching, and that'll short it if it turns on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some electrical tape and just tie some electrical tape around each jumper wire connector. That should solve it, hopefully. Alright, so finished most of the wiring for the ESP32, the display and the radar. we had the issue that these pins were too short, fixed it by removing the connectors, clamping it down. Then we had the issue that it would short because the metal connectors were too close, so I got some electrical tape and I just wrapped it around the pins that were touching. So that's good. One more problem is that I'll put the wiring diagram up on the screen, but you can see from that the 3.3 volt pin from the ESP32 needs to go to two places. It needs to supply power here. Actually, is that correct? Let me look. That's incorrect. It needs to supply power here to the actual logic part of this, but also to the LED screen. So it needs to go two places. So my solution to that is that I took this jumper wire and then a second jumper wire, stripped end, and then also stripped some insulation in the middle of the second wire and just tied it around the middle just to make a jumper splitter. So this will go into the ESP32 3.3 pin, and then this one will go to one destination where it needs 3.3 volt power, and this is where this will go to another destination. This is janky, so I'm gonna go solder it. I just finished the solder. Is pretty quick. I haven't soldered for a while, so a second to remember how to do everything. But we're gonna do a multimeter test just to test to see if it works. So you can see the sort of parent one comes here, and then it goes up here, and then here's the solder joint. Oops, solder joint's here, and splits into two. I've got both of them on these pins here. So we've got parent here, and then the children there. So we're going to do a continuity test. I've done one of these before in this series. Basically what it does is beeps if there's a electrical pathway between the two probes. So get this thing set up. Right, so I'm going to put the first probe at the bottom of the parent. Go here. So we've got a electrical connection between these two. Let's try this third one. And we've got an electrical connection. I also added some electrical tape here because I was just worried about these two shorting. This is all of the wiring done, at least for now. You can see the red one is the one that I added the solder joint to. It goes from the 3.3 pin on the ESP32 to the LED on the display and the VCC on the display. It's almost done.